Our Gospel reading this morning sounds pretty grim and disastrous, but it's typical of what the church gives us this time of the year, getting towards the end of our liturgical year. This being the 33rd Sunday, 34th is next week. That's the end of the year, and then we start Advent. This is Roger from the MSC Mission Office, and you're with Mission Alive. But our Gospel reading speaks of destruction, things being torn down, the temple being torn down. It speaks of wars, revolutions, great earthquakes, plagues and famines, and so on. All that sounds pretty disastrous, but what the church is doing this, and what Jesus is doing, is reminding us of the end times, that all things will come to an end in one way or another. Now, we're not particularly referring to the end of time or that disastrous as some people would think. It's a reminder to us that many things will come to an end. There will be problems and difficulties and hard times, but we don't despair. That's not the end of everything. There are more important things going on than we might think. I remember many years ago I was visiting in Ireland and I went to a place called Kilkenny, where some of my ancestors came from, and I was walking around the town, and there's this little stone church. It wasn't too little, it was a fairly substantial church. So I wandered in. There wasn't much happening. There was, up in the choir loft somewhere there was a little group of monks, old men, who were saying the office, the prayers. And I wandered around, and there was pictures on the wall about 1,000 years before this church had been burned down. Whether it was a war or whether some monk knocked over the oil lamp or something, who knows, I've forgotten. But it was rebuilt and reused. At this stage it looked like a bit the end of the line, because there was only a small group of old monks there, and that's indicative of how things are in the church. We have had difficult times here in Australia recently. We've had drought. Some places are still in drought. We've had floods, we've had fires, we've had COVID, and many people are still in difficulties. A lot of difficult things happening for people. We don't have enough workers for everything, so delivery of goods is not easy. We have a supply chain issue. We have shortage of labour. We have too much crops to be harvested and not enough people to do it, and so on and so forth. So there's many things that are difficult for us. In other countries, things are even more difficult. There are still places where people don't have decent water. There are still places where kids don't get an education. There's still places where health facilities are either non-existent or very, very minimal. There are places where the environment is a disaster. Recently, on the news, it was said that Delhi in India is the most polluted city in the world, and people are suffering health problems because of the smog and all the toxins and everything that is in it. So we can say there's a lot of disasters around the world, a lot of really bad things, really difficult things. But what these readings are saying to us is things will come and go. Things will be disastrous and things will get better. The important thing is we keep going. And what is important, as Jesus said, go into the whole world and proclaim the good news, the Great Commission. That's our mission. That's what we're here for. That's what we do, good times and in bad times. And that's one of the big things that's important. And the most important thing is God is God, and God will keep things going. And some people blame God for the disasters. Well, not so. God didn't light the bushfires. God is not causing the floods. These things are happening because the world is the world as it is. The world is governed by physical rules, and not even God can make a perfect physical world. So things happen, but that's life. That's life. You know, our floods were bad. Pakistan had 2/3 of the entire nation underwater. It will take them 20 years to recover. But we keep going. That's what the human race does. The world keeps going, the world survives, the human race survives, and the church survives in different forms. Now, for the church, we might think there's a lot of disastrous things happening. Well, things are changing. Things are in transition. Things are not perfect by any means. Because the church is made up basically of human beings. And we never quite get it right. But over 2,000 years, the church has survived things that are probably a lot worse. And the world has survived things that are a lot worse. The Black Plague, the bubonic plague that went through Europe, the 1300s or somewhere around there, wiped out 2/3 of the population. People survived. Things went on. So we have to keep our minds open to the bigger picture. And just say, well, the world will do what the world does. Human beings will do what human beings do. We remain faithful to God and to our mission, and we keep going. So this is our mission, and this is what the church reminds us at this time. To keep our eyes focused on the important things, remain faithful to the mission of proclaiming the good news, and remain faithful to loving each other and showing love and concern for all people. And this is our mission. Thank you.